Toby, you crazy. Toby, you crazy. Toby, you crazy. Toby, you crazy.
Bougiewild, 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 Bougiewild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougiewild, 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 Bougiewild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougiewild can't be boxed. I'm free to be me. I'm living life, creating legacy. I'm living my dream. They call me extra. They say I'm doing too much. I'm just bougie wild. Cause I'm classy with some style. Bougie wild, 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 bougie wild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougie wild, 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 bougie wild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. I'm rocking my own label. I'm wearing my own brand. See, y'all don't understand that this shit was never planned. Some call me bougie, some call me wild. The funny thing is, it's just my personality and style. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougie wild, 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 bougie wild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougie wild is balanced. I don't play. I say what I mean what I say. I'm done slay. Bougie wild is balanced. That I am. I live, love, laughing. I don't give a damn. Bougie wild, 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 bougie wild. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Bougie wild is loving yourself, it's knowing yourself, it's trusting yourself, it's being yourself. Yeah. Hey. Bougie wild is loving yourself, it's being yourself, it's being yourself, it's expressing yourself. Yeah. Be original. Do you, it works. The funny thing is, hurt. I said the universe gave it to me. I said the universe gave it to me. Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Transparent Table Talk. Transparent Table Talk is a place where we talk about life from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. The purpose of the show is to bring awareness to life challenges that causes us shame and blame, and to let people know that we have a choice. We have a choice to live intentional, recognize, and address things to live a great life. You all make sure you go check out bougiewild.com for Bougiewild gear. And let's get into the show, introducing our evening. Melissa Chwalinski-Gordon. Melissa is the founder of Adulting Simply. She created the company as well as the tools and resources to help people with challenging adulting journeys. She is excited about being committed and walking along with people as she helped them overcome
and maybe even avoid many day-to-day challenges. Being a person with lifelong ADHD, she has always had an obstacle learning, remembering, and executing day-to-day life in a productive way. Lack of impulse control makes it very easy to self sabotage and not show up for others in life very consistently. After having three children while simultaneously working full time and being a college student, because she thought she could do it all, she was forced to develop hacks for herself to ensure all things got taken care of efficiently. You are Since then, she's worked with a variety of all age and ability levels and found a passion for helping others overcome their obstacles as well. She deeply enjoys and respects the wisdom of elders as well as the innovation of upcoming generations and strive to build a bridge of respect and acceptance between communities. Can't wait there reduce stress and overcome while adding fulfillment and a sense of success in life by living intentionally, whether it be through group coaching, online or in-person training, life management tools, planning journals, or even record book. The sky is everything she teach is neurotypical and neurodiverse friendly. If you find more intricate accommodations are needed, please join one of her coaching options for a deeper dive into how to overcome specific struggles. She goes into a great detail and answers many questions as possible about specific pain points and obstacles holding us back. You guys, let's welcome Melissa to Transparent Table Talk.
Hi, I'm super
Hi.
happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us on this evening. How are you today?
I'm good. It's always good to go back and hear, we build our websites and we write those things, and then you
Yeah.
move about life and do business. It always touches me when I go back and remember where the roots started, what got me on that path in the first place. So I enjoy hearing you read that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that information with us. Uh, it seems like you were talking about me because I struggle with ADHD. I have not been diagnosed, but I've done my own diagnosis, and
Right.
it's like I'm here. So thank
It's
you so
very
much.
common for women to not be diagnosed. A
Yes.
lot of the testing and things, the model that they use for testing.
Mm.
Fun fact, you want to talk about some serious, deep woman-to-woman conversations right off the bat. Men's hormone cycles and their activity level is consistent. They have a wake up, work, sleep pattern. Well, we don't. Our cycle is completely different. It's in 4 phases. Because our cycle is in 4 phases, our hormones change all throughout each one of those phases. So to get a good baseline on women to understand, diagnose them, what medications are needed, and so on and so forth, we've for many years have been kind of excluded from case studies. So there are a few other countries, not North America, that Australia, Europe, other places like that are pretty up on changing the trend on those things. They have a lot better diagnostics for women than we do here. And I do a lot of my researching, a lot of my studying about what works and what helps through their publications. And then I take them back to my doctor, which is always just mind blown. And I spend as much time coaching my doctor as he does treating me. So I appreciate that he's young enough that he respects the information that I gather from abroad. But it's not our fault that we get underdiagnosed. It's just the clinical platform and the way they go about case study still to this day in a matriarchal society. So I like to kind of stir the pot and make some noise about that because it's holistically unfair.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that information with us because, like I said, I've diagnosed myself. I've never been diagnosed. Went to the doctor, told him something going on with me, my memory, like you said, loss of memory, just organization, getting things done. I request help. Like I've identified that something is going on with me. So what I do is I seek help like from people. Like if
Which
I
is
need something done, I'll pay somebody to do it. I'm not gonna sit there and struggle with myself. I've done that, been frustrated, don't accomplish things. So I'm like,
and that's a shame cycle.
right.
If you don't delegate, you can get into a shame cycle, especially women. You should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. You should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. It's unrealistic standards in the first place. And then if you add something that's immediately an executive dysfunction crisis or anything like that, then I think that's one of the things I talked about in our initial interview was from being different when you're in grade school and not quite catching things to high school being a little slow to respond for girls. It's different with boys oftentimes, although there are what used to be considered just ADD, which is an inattentive. Now it's all ADHD, but it's like ADHD. Every time the DSMV changes, the diagnostic logo changes, or the however they call it. So the shame cycle for women can start early on. When you get stuck in a shame cycle, that affects the rest of your life. When you feel like you're whatever, like I struggle with math and science. Well, I didn't understand that my brain didn't turn on to that mathematical stuff, and that they were teaching in 4th grade that mine didn't really activate until 6th grade. So I spent my whole life thinking, well, I can't be an anesthesiologist because I can't do math. Like the things that you box yourself into and you block yourself out of over something that simple drastically impacts your self-esteem, what you think you can do in life, and it's just really limiting. So it's bothersome to me.
Yes, thank you for being transparent about that because we need more people to understand. We learn different. That's basically what you're saying.
Oh, 100%.
We learn different, and we learn at different phases. Our brain just works different. And I can relate to you, Melissa. I used to tell myself, I can't remember stuff because my mind be going. Like,
right.
I have to get up and go to the gym. That's how fast my mind be going. I have to go get rid of that energy in the morning.
Yeah,
because if I don't go get rid of that energy in the morning, I'll be
absolutely.
And I've identified that about me. And then it also affects me with capturing stuff. I can talk. I'm better with recording myself. I notice I have to record myself. I have to keep something to write with, to write my thoughts down. I'm a very creative person. I'm a person of ideas. Like I have a lot of ideas always going in my mind. So I've identified the things that are strengths because my mind is going. Right. I can, like you said, I can delegate things. I can organize things. It's like my mind be a matrix, and I can say this piece here, this piece there. I'm good with planning and bringing things together. But as far as taking that thought, writing it down, like one thing I'm working on is writing a book, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm better with taking a microphone, plugging it in my computer, and talking paragraph, whatever I didn't capture and pronouncing it clear enough. But I sit down and try to just type it out. Girl, my mind gonna be like I can't catch it.
And I'm exactly the opposite. I can sit down and type. I can type as fast as I can think. But start talking, I will talk about 17 things. I will not day type. It is so much more eloquent than I ever can speak. It makes me so mad. People get paranoid, like, wrote that? I'm like, I don't understand. But actually write that. But awesome that do that. And it is, you know, you can go to, and that's from a lot of trial and error. That's another very important point. You're talking about we all learn. Failing forward is such a magnificent thing. We oftentimes can do something and not do it well and just shut down and be like, oh, well, I guess I just can't do that. No, that's probably not the case. The case probably is that you just haven't found your little way of doing it. And it's so important to communicate with other people and glean from other people. Well, if we're going to do such and such, how would you listen? It's happening. I love to see every other time in there. You're often for me just door in my mouth all the rest to get
We have to identify our strengths and our weaknesses.
for sure.
And once you identify the weakness, you just put an action item into place to deal with it. But you don't let it, because we all have them. We all have
and that's where delegating is beautiful.
Right.
Right. This, I'm good at this. Let's get.
Let me just say this. Transparent Table Talk is something different. Like I said, I don't talk to the guests before the show. I put this line of questions out here and then allow guests to name the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in learning about that.
Oh, are you ready?
Yes, I
So
am.
I have started the conversation about shame, and I've started the conversation about how women are underdiagnosed. Where that goes, so we have accommodations in school. If you're diagnosed early, fantastic. You can have an IEP or 504, get the additional help in the classroom. That will take you up through college if you have a diagnosis. Well, the minute you walk out the door of college, there's no adult intervention, adult accommodations, adult help for people with neurodiversity. And so that's not fair. So you were talking about knowing your strengths, right? And it's wonderful. In fact, if you're working in your strengths, you're working in what's considered your zone of genius. The best work we can produce is the work we produce in our strengths. Our best ideas, our best everything is in that place. So then you get a job and you go to an 8 to 5, and they have this cookie cutter structure of how they want things done. And you can't listen to your headphones at work. They don't have quiet cubicle accommodations. You don't have set hours that you can keep people out of your space so that you can, you know how hard it is for us to focus. I mean, period. So if there are certain accommodations that I know that make me my most successful and I'm the best employee I can be for you with these accommodations, and you go to work in nearly every corporate structure, they immediately tell you, no, you can't do that. So you mean to tell me that I'm explaining to you how you're going to get the best work out of me, and because that's not company culture or company policy, I can't do that. Well, if we do it for you, we'd have to do it for everybody. Totally understand that. But that's the difference in equality and equity. Don't talk to me about equality, talk to me about equity. And it is not fair for you to expect and require me to function equally as everyone else when we're all our own individual person.
Right.
So it just perpetuates a shame cycle and a sense of failure and so on and so forth. Corporate sales structures, I'll never, ever, ever in my life forget this lesson. I worked for a very prominent insurance company. They have a corporate sales structure in our region specifically that had a really old male regional manager that had done things the same way for 50 years, and that's the way his dad did it when he held that position before. I am a woman. I am a natural networker. And so I
Yes.
went to networking groups and I plugged into those, and I was in relationships because to me, that's good business. Every account that I secured, our relationships, I would get a voicemail that would say, you had unusually high enrollment for that company, but the way you do business is not a sustainable model. But I would get account after account after account that would enroll higher than the average number. I would get a voicemail every time, but this is not sustainable. My self-esteem.
Wow.
Or my design work for that company, which at its core is a good company with a good structure and it's solid, and my stocks I could no longer work at that company because they would not allow me to be me. Now, is that a company policy? Is that manager's policy? Scenario, and you can apply it to many that same thing happens over and over and over again. So it made me start thinking about how you have to pretend to be someone else. My husband's Black, so I'm going to say this, and that's not an excuse. I'm just going to say I've watched this in the Black community so much. Dearest friends taught me this phrase. She said, it's sending your representatives office, having to be different, having to have your hair a certain way, having to dress a certain way, having to totally remove who you are culturally, how you engage culturally, so that you are acceptable in that environment, which is crap because diversity and all of that is beautiful and it makes things fun. So it's very similar. We have to go in as neurodiverse people. We have to go in and mask and be someone we're not, which the anxiety that builds on the inside, right? Like you're living in duality. And so when you're living in duality, there's an internal conflict that you just feel constantly like, well, I'm just not accepted. And I'm busting my butt and doing the best I can. But who I am, is not accepted. That's hellish. And you got to do that 8 to 5 every day. You got to show up like that every day. The only time you get to be you is in the car on the way home with your family. And that's if you get to be that way with your family, because with my family, that wasn't exactly acceptable either because I was different. So it's an out of the closet thing. And a lot of people that have disabilities have to deal with that, minor disabilities. If you have a physical, visible, obvious disability, oftentimes there are accommodations made for you. But if you have one that's not visible, oftentimes if you even talk about it, it's you're making excuses, or that's a crutch, or you're underperforming, so that's just your excuse for underperforming. What I would love to see is an open space for that. An open space. You know how Google talks about, well, not so much anymore, but back a few years, how everybody wanted a work environment like Google. They have the little work pods and this, that, and the other. Well, I have since heard from people that have visited there that, yeah, they have all that, but everybody's terrified to use it because of their quota requirements. And I was like, how sad. I want a Google work environment that you can use. Like if I need to go have a de-escalation moment, that there's a safe space for me to go do that. But it's just not fair. It's not fair. It's something that we need to be a lot more public about. It's something that we need to be, which I have a label of being a positive disruptor anyway. So I kind of stick my whole neck out there with a lot of these conversations in the first place. But more people have to. Like, how do you get change to happen? The only way you get change to happen is if enough people start opening their mouth and saying, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm just not. And yes, it's going to cost a few on the front end dearly, but you just got to keep saying it and keep saying it. There's just some things like that go on in our country, and I'm sure other countries, but I see it so much more prominently now. It seems like the more we talk about inclusion and all these wonderful things, that it's really just a conversation. It's not actually an action taking place. Like it's kind of, you're gonna get me in a lot of trouble on this whole conversation.
No,
It's
I mean,
like
I'm sitting here listening to you. You said a lot. You said a lot that I can relate to. You call it neurodiversity out of the closet as it pertains to the workspace and then being in the work environment. But my whole message is what my brand represents. Bougiewild. I'm sure you noticed this word, like what's Bougiewild? It's a can't be boxed, free to be me energy. And I speak on how society want to conform us to social norm.
Yes.
And that we have to live and be a certain way to be accepted.
Yeah.
Not only in the workplace, but just in society.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's in friend groups, at church, everywhere.
We have to look a certain way and do things and speak a certain way and act a certain way, for or the need to be accepted. And we're not talking about it enough, that we go out in the world with the desire to be accepted in the fear of rejection, rather than being true, authentically ourselves with the boundary, not stealing or destroying.
Right.
But my
moral and ethics.
Right. But my personality should not cause you to judge me on a professional level. My personality and who I am, or who I choose to be, should not cause you to discredit my knowledge or, just who I am as a person. So everything that you mentioned, I can relate to, like even about living intentional.
Right.
We need to talk more about this. This is the reason Transparent Table Talk was created. And it all the guests that's coming to me, it's like, and I'm just be honest, it's like we're fed up with it. We're fed up with this norm. And it doesn't matter the race. I've talked to people as far as Belgium. I've talked to different races, Black, white, Chinese, like the conditioning and how we are expected to be. Like, we're not even addressing that we have different things going on with us, like ADHD, that we have different personalities. We have a way that we think different. And
that's okay. That should be celebrated, not condemned. You should plug into that and see what someone else brings to the table that your minimal mindset is excluding. I feel like, I don't know how old you are, but I feel like from about mid-40s down are just starting to itch in a way that is
I'm 45 and you see I
create. I'm 44. Yeah.
And it, like I said, my whole brand come from people criticizing me. Let me just give you a quick background. Teenage mom, high school dropout by the time I was 17, had 2 children. Been on my own since I was 15 years old. Went out in the world on survival. Went back, got my college degree. 20 years IRS. I'm a previous IRS agent. After 20 years working for them, realizing who I am, I quit my job. Out here creating the life I want. But Bougiewild was given to me from people criticizing me, for my evolution. Some call me Bougie, and then some call me Wild. They call me Bougie because of how I have changed, coming from a part.
Boy, people don't want you to. When you start growing, the tall poppy syndrome will kick in, and they will start pulling you back down.
Stop pulling me down. And so Wild, because I do have a big personality, I love to dance. I dance like nobody's watching. And I feel like that is me enjoying myself. And I refuse. Nobody will ever take that away from me. You will not take away from me that if you invite me to a party And because I'm free enough to go out there and dance like nobody's watching, I'm talking, I just start twirling like I'm a 10-year-old with my,
That's
but
fantastic.
right. And the thing is, don't put me in a box. Don't put me in a box. Allow me to be free to be me. I wrote a song. I said, I don't conform to social norm. I'm doing me. I'm working to become the best version I can be,
And you get
physically,
to change and
emotionally,
evolve for the rest of your life.
constantly. And so, when you talk about this diversity, this is not just in the workplace. We need to accept this as a society.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, and family too. Like I work I'm in Little Rock, and downtown is our entertainment district. I went from teaching school to bartending. You want to talk about a culture shock to everybody I went to church with. They quit talking to me like that. And I lived in a small town anyway. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. And something happened by the time I was 32, and I just did not care anymore. I was 16 when I got married, had my first child at 17, my second at 18, and my third one by the time I was 21. So, by the time I was 30 something, I was like, you can't tell me nothing. I've already done all this. It's already been hard, whatever. I was the older one working downtown, and I was at that in-between age. So I had 20-year-olds, which was just past the high school kids that I was teaching anyway, coming to me for advice all the time, which is actually how Adulting Simply started. Like I was giving this free advice exhaustively. I mean, exhaustively. People would call me at all hours of the day and night, want to know about this and this and this. And so then all of the industry workers, I would do Friendsgiving. Or in the wintertime, I cook a big pot of chicken and dumplings because I'm country and that's just the way it is. And so I would bring to work these big pots of chicken and dumplings, or these big, pots of stew or something like that. And so I became resident mom at the age of 32 when these people aren't but like 4 or 5 years younger than I am. But they loved that. And what I began to learn was they would come to my house for Friendsgiving because they didn't want to go to their family's house. And I was like, why? Well, as time went on and I learned more and more, it's the truth tellers and the ones that actually see things for the way they are that end up the black sheep and the scapegoats in their family. I came from an alcoholic family on both sides. You don't talk about it. You don't ask questions. You don't tell anybody about it. Well, not telling folks about it is how they protect themselves, but they'll put it off on you like you're doing wrong for mentioning something.
Right.
Exactly. And so what I began to understand is these young adults didn't want to go home because they didn't want to deal with the nonsense of their family. And it was nonsense in their family. They weren't bad. They actually saw it for what it was, but because they caught so much flack for their family, they ended up numbing out all the time. So they were always smoking weed or always drinking or doing whatever to just suppress the duality and the conflict in knowing what's up, but they can't get that love and that acceptance from their family because they're different. When their families were the ones that were jacked up in the first place. And I could relate to that because I left my home environment at 15. Like I was like, I cannot live that life.
Relate. And that's why a lot of us are suffering, because they want to condition us. Your family blood is thicker than water, and this is your family.
It'll also make you lose your mind. So
like a lot of our families, like you said, I was the black sheep because I was the one that realized that a lot of things that we were doing was not correct. And I have
and not walking what you're talking, like this is what you're telling everybody, that this is what we're doing.
Speaking on it. So I was the one got caught. Oh, you bougie. You think you better than everybody now. You think you did. No, I'm just saying that the way we're doing things could be a better way. We don't have to be poor. We don't have to do things the way we're doing it. Let's educate ourselves.
Everybody could level up. Everybody could level up.
Yes. And that's what we're not speaking of enough. Melissa, we're not talking about the vessels used, because I look at family different from the world. I no longer live of the world. Anyway, my family is what I create. My family is I look at myself, we're all God's children.
Right.
Jesus, my brother.
Well, Scripture says a friend sticks closer than a brother anyway. So,
So and that's what I'm telling, because I'm the same person. Everybody call me for advice because I do speak publicly from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. I get so many people that come to me for advice because they said, Miss Yolanda, we know you're going to tell us the truth. And I said, I don't tell you what somebody told me. I tell you what I've been through. So I can only guide you based on my experiences. If I have not experienced that, I'm going to say, Melissa, I've never experienced that. So I don't know what to tell you.
Let
But
me ask you this, though. You have enough wisdom and enough experience and exposure to life. In some of those cases, just with wisdom and time, do you not feel like you can speak into a situation like, y'all, that's not going to end well? Like, let me just tell you how things have played out. That's not going to end well.
Because the energy, Melissa, and I'm sure you know this, we're nothing but balls of energy. Like, It matters how we think. It matters what we say. It matters what we do. And depending on that energy you put out in the world, it's a boomerang. I mean, like you and I have that in common. Been out here since I was 15. I've done the world. I've done the competition. I've done the condemnation. I've done the competing. I went out here with a point to prove.
To exhaustion.
I've done it. So I know what it looked like. I've done the whole social norm to fit in, to wear the certain clothes, wear my hair a certain way, talk a certain way, switch up who I am because I go in this particular room versus to when I go around this particular type of person. And I'm now so okay with myself. And I tell people from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place, I've not always been here.
Yeah, so no, it took a long time.
It took me a long. I have a son that's 30. So I am on this mission to share and bring awareness to people. And that's why I am so grateful. Like the response I received from putting out Transparent Table Talk. Right. Transparent Table Talk is changing the world. Because
that's what it needs.
It's needed. Like so many of us, like you said, that 40-something, we're ready. We're over it.
Yes, 100%. So something else I've noticed, and I want your opinion on it. I feel like we're too careful and too focused on not offending someone to actually speak truth. So and part of this is neurodiversity. And part of it is I've had people tell me all my life I was just born in the wrong region. I should have been born up north because I have a Yankee way of delivering communication, but born in the deep South. I'm very direct and I'm very matter of fact, but it's just the facts. I mean no harm and I mean no disrespect, but I'm going to just speak to you the truth about the situation because I have yet to understand how to sugarcoat something and actually deliver it in an impactful way. And so I have challenged myself a lot in the last year. Does my delivery need to improve? Which it probably does because I know I have no candor. But at the same time, if you read scripture, and clearly you do, how much sugar talking did Jesus do? Ever. In all of scripture, how much mealy-mouthed sugar talk is had in any verse anywhere?
So let me answer that. That's the reason why when I have something that I need to talk to a person about, first of all, I realize that it's my responsibility to express myself because when I don't express myself, that's when I experience anxiety and I become double-minded, right? I become double-minded because now I'm dealing with, like you said, this dualism in my head. So I come to them and I say, before I say anything, I say, I'm about to talk to you from a humble, transparent, and a vulnerable place.
Yeah.
And this is me.
They know what that means.
Yeah. I can relate to you because I've been told by many people, you just say anything and you have no tact. And don't get me wrong. I have learned because I want people to receive me. And because I'm out here speaking on platforms, I am mindful. I have become more mindful. So what I do now is I speak from a vulnerable place with no shame. I tell what that true, emotion is, what my truth is. Like, for an example, this young lady, she invited me to go on a trip to Las Vegas, and she had this fee and I paid the fee. And so after I paid my fee, she started sending me these messages and was like, you need this outfit for this day, and you need to buy this pajama, you need to buy this bathing suit. I said, pardon me?
No, I don't.
Hello. I'm an entrepreneur and I didn't sign up to buy all of these different outfits.
Nor did you mention them in advance.
Right. That's not something that's exactly what I told her. And I told her, I'm coming from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. I'm building 2 businesses. I resigned from my 20-year job, building my business. I'm building this brand, Bougiewild, and it takes a lot. Like, this platform, I have somebody behind the scenes that I pay. I tell people, like, building my business costs money, and I'm not seeing money right now. So I also have a daughter that's a senior. We just went and bought a prom dress the other day.
But that's a whole different level of expense.
Right. I'm saying this to say, like I told her, I said, I don't want to seem like the difficult female.
Right.
But that's not something that was disclosed. I said, and I don't want to seem like the one that is being difficult or whatever. But first of all, clothes are not important to me anymore. Like, I could go on this trip and get something out of my closet and be just fine with it. But, I'm not, like I told her, she was like, I have an orange bathing suit. Okay. I think I got an orange bathing suit. Not sure. I think I got one, but I'm not going to buy one.
Right.
And I express myself.
And that's pressure. People put pressure on you to do that kind of stuff. I think.
And I speak in response to your question. I am okay with expressing myself and not having the fear of offending anyone, because now I'm at that place. I can talk from that vulnerable place, that transparent place. Like, I can really, instead of, girl, you didn't tell me I had to buy no bathing suit, because I'm really saying I don't have the money to buy it.
Total difference in attitude. Got it. It's not with sass, it's just with assuredness.
Just humble myself, and I have no shame about it. See, a lot of things, because we're shamed, we put a defense up.
Oh, yeah, totally. Or if you're insecure.
Right, or fear, doubt, or insecurity.
Yeah.
Fear, doubt, and insecurity creates chaos, discord, conflict, irritation, aggravation, frustration. And so we put this shield up because we really don't want to show the underlying issue of what it is. So if it's we deflect, somebody insecure, they put their ooh, something wrong with you because you're insecure. We project whatever that is we're dealing with off on the next person. So I've identified that, and I realize that now. And so I don't allow the devil to use me. I have no shame and I bear no blame. And I thank God I'm not insane. So I'm able to express myself from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place.
But I feel like the situation with that whole thing with her saying, well, now you've got to, I feel like it's our responsibility to call that.
Right.
Like, so yeah, she can do that to 15 people and guilt and shame them into getting the stuff. But what she's doing is a bad business practice. And I feel like for those of us that are experienced enough and mature enough to know and understand that, especially people that are in business, I feel like it's our personal responsibility to say, hey, just so you know, this is how this kind of thing usually goes, and this is the respectful way to do business. And I'm not getting into all that because that's not what you said in the first place. And had you, I wouldn't be participating. So it is what it is. I never have had any problem. I really, really respect and value what you said about I'm an entrepreneur and building 2 businesses, and I'm not making money yet, because for the first year and a half, 2 years, I had to say that. And at different point in time, that could be the same story. I can be feasting one day and fasting another, depending on the season and everything else. And so we don't talk about stuff like that because, oh, what if they think I'm not successful? So then you've got these new people out here starting businesses that think, always do. They're starting business with the expectation that there's not going to be that kind of work and there's not going to be that kind of lack from the job. So in not being vulnerable and transparent, you are not doing a service to the younger one coming. Like
to yourself, you putting that pressure on yourself to mask, like you said,
send
this representative.
Yes.
You're sending this representative to fit into the social norm again, to fit into the social norm because you don't want to be rejected or you're afraid of what somebody has to say. I'm at the place, like I tell people, I'm at that place in my life. I don't care what you won't do. It's caused me to be uncomfortable. Like becoming a teenage mom so young, going out here in this world.
Fight for that
too.
too.
The world. I don't do the world anymore. And no, I don't care about who it is, what it is. If I am not comfortable with it, if it causes me a flinch to say, what? I'm going to say something.
You're in touch with that. How many people have been masking for 20 years that cannot even feel the Holy Spirit talk to them because they've been covering that up for so long, trying to perform and trying to be what they're not? They don't even get that flinch of anything because they have desensitized and disconnected from it so bad. So I know in abusive relationships, but in various different situations, you can turn off your intuition, which is the most dangerous thing a human can ever, ever, ever do, is to turn off that gut response. Gaslighting will do it. Families will do it to kids when they're younger. I mean, there's a bajillion ways that happens. I had a therapist tell me one time, to go with your gut can be dangerous, but to ignore your gut can be lethal. And I've never forgot that, ever, ever, ever. And I watched people numb out and desensitize from that going into business transactions. That's something they really want. All the little stars and flashy things that they've been promised, they want it so bad that they can't sense that something's just not quite right here and walk away. They're so desperate for whatever that promotion, that promise, that whatever, that 9 times out of 10 isn't near as good as what they say it's going to be anyway. But they'll turn off that inner sense that's telling them, don't do that. There's something not quite right about that.
Do you know why they crucified Jesus, right? They crucified, Jesus was telling them that God sent me to show y'all it's in us, through us, as us. In the book of John.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. And they were like, you're saying you're the Messiah. He said, no, it's in us. And we don't, the thing about it is, we were not taught to look for God in us. They got us calling God He, instead of teaching us the Holy Spirit lives within me.
Well, nobody teaches the Holy Spirit hardly at all anymore. There's so many. So a few years back, I went completely anti-religion, full non-denomination, self-study, kingdom living, all of that, which I am starting to finally see a trend in, and I am so grateful. But
I'm on a spiritual path. Yeah. I have disconnected from the world and their ways of doing things. I don't down anything, but I am connected to the source. And there are things that's happening in my life that I'm proof that once we stand in our truth and know who we are. See, the thing about it is, we're not tapped into the spirit because we don't realize it's in us. We're looking for it on the outside. We're praying to something on the outside. We're seeking validation. If you're teaching me to seek God on the outside, you're seeking God on the outside for validation.
Which is sort of idolizing something instead of exactly what we're told, that's in us. That all the counseling and all the healing and all the anything you need is right there within you. But
social norm again, because the social norm, and it's in the Bible, it says, do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The pattern of the world, everybody does that pattern.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder, and I get real weird about, like, I'm super curious and I can go down rabbit holes forever about these things. Reason being is because I try to dissect and figure things out and then figure out how to flip them. But I wonder if, because there's so much power in understanding the Holy Spirit, that's been stripped out.
They don't want us to know.
Right.
Because it's a business. It's a business to make you feel like you got to come to someone for salvation.
Yeah. And be dependent on, and
And be dependent instead of teaching you. Like, this is the reason I created this show. When I had my revelation of who I am, I almost lost my mind. I said, why nobody didn't tell me? Why nobody didn't sit me down in Sunday school and say, Yolanda, you're going to grow up in life. The family you were born into was the vessel used to get you here.
Yeah.
We were born into sin because based on their social norm is how we were conditioned. Like, I have 4 children, a 30-year-old, 28, 18, and a 15-year-old. I have 5 grandchildren. I said, they tell us to look for God. Look at a baby. A baby is born with a clear mind.
Yeah.
A baby does not have no fear, no doubt, no.
Well, he says, come to me like a child, you know.
Okay, so what happens is we're born in the world. We start getting all this conditioning in us. You know, we got to do things the way the family done it. You know, we start mimicking things we see. You know, the fears get put in us. Then we could get disappointed. We could get abused. We could get abandoned. We could get violated. You know, the world start criticizing us. Look at your nose. Look at this. Look at you. You ugly. You this. You this. You that. So by the time we're young adults, we don't even know who we are. We don't like ourselves. We comparing our hair. We comparing this. We
Right.
look at this. So
And media makes sure that we don't like ourselves.
We're never taught self-love. God's love is self-love.
So that's the book I'm writing. Love thyself like thy neighbor. Yeah.
Love yourself. Exactly.
You cannot love anybody else until you understand how to love yourself, because there is discipline that comes with love. And don't tell me you love somebody else if you can't even get up and take care of your own face and take care of your own health and take care of your own temple or any of that. You cannot love somebody else unless you can put the time, energy, and effort into loving yourself intentionally. You just can't. Not effectively.
Self-love is not go and get your nails done. Go and get no massage.
It's not chocolate cake and bath bombs. It's budgeting. It's nutrition. It's all kinds of things. I teach all that. That's I teach. Yes.
It's how you treat your body. And it's training your mind to design the best version of yourself. It's overcoming the world conditioning and not allowing it to conform you, but standing in your truth. It's getting to know who you are and living life unapologetically.
And doing the work to uncondition all the things you've been conditioned. And girl, that is so hard. Unless you get lucky enough that you have a breakover moment, which sounds like you did, and you just go, you know what? I'm done with all this. But even then, there's pieces of it you have to fight. Like I can remember
every moment of the day.
Yeah. I can remember getting to a place that I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. So I should have known from a young age that I was going to speak and talk and help and present, because everything under the sun has been done to get me to shut my mouth. And the more I have been minimized and oppressed, the more fireball hot inside my chest I would get. And it was different than being angry. It's an internal, energetic pull/explosion just pending coming. And the last couple of years in my life was a real breakover point with that, in which I had to say, that's it, no more. And I no longer care who I offend or hack off. There are some things that have got to be said. There are some truths that have got to be told. There are some people that have to be advocated for, and there is some work that has to be done. And if they crucify me socially for it, then so be it. But this stuff has got to be dealt with. And the thing is, I would sit down and I would say, why has it got to be you? Well, number one, I think differently. I've experienced it. Nobody can articulate a lot of this like I can. Number two, a lot of people won't. They don't have that same it's a drive that is so big and so hard that even if I want to shut it down, I can't, because I've tried numerous times and it just made me ill. And I'm talking
Force,
about,
I understand, Melissa. It's a force that's bigger than
yes.
you. I
And if
understand.
you don't honor it, it will make you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically sick. I know, because 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and it took me for a year and a half. I was just stuck in that. And it wasn't until I finally started saying, I'm not going to shut up anymore. I'm going to say what I need to say, that I started to heal and I started to get better. And after I started to get better from opening my mouth, that was it. It was over. Wasn't
What
anybody going to tell me
James
different.
1:8 said, double mind is unstable in all their ways.
I was very unstable, very unstable.
And like
People
we
think I'm
said,
unstable
the
now, though.
Bible
That's the
doesn't
funny thing.
sugarcoat it. So I love having these type conversations. And one thing I can say about Transparent Table Talk, it is bringing like-minded people. I am meeting so many like-minded people.
We need each other. We
Yes,
desperately need each other.
we do. We do.
Because we don't get a whole lot of backing out there.
Right.
You know?
We don't. And it's like people would rather live wearing the mask and lying to themselves. And it's just very rare to be able to have somebody to have this conversation with.
A lot of people just don't have the fortitude. We've been through some things, so we've been conditioned up to. We have built an internal strength that many people these days have not, and so we have conditioned up through the hard stuff to be able to stand in this. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I've survived a lot. At 44, as have you, I've literally just survived a lot. And so at this point, I have enough confidence to know that even if it's hard, I'm going to make it.
I'm going to make it. I mean, life and death lies in the power of the tongue. The one thing I've discovered in my 45 years is that the word is already written.
Yeah.
Like I tell people, if I give you my address and you put it in your GPS and you follow it, you're going to pull up in my driveway. You may experience some roadblocks.
Yeah.
You may experience some detours. You may experience a flat tire. But if you continue to follow that map with those
people
instructions,
take detours as I shouldn't be doing this. But anything worth doing is going to be a challenge. And if it is handed to you, you will not appreciate it in the first place. If you do not work through that and get there. But people now take any kind of adversity as, oh, well, I guess that wasn't meant to be. No, it's meant for you to gain some grit between here and there. You're going to have some grit to handle that next level you're going to. You're going to have a detour. You're going to have a pothole.
No rain, no flower. The sun can't shine all the time.
That's right.
We need some rain.
Yep.
And then just like Melissa, like when I say I now understand how we are connected, just like the seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall. Think about it. We go through those different phases 100%. In our lives.
100%. Everybody talks about this, cracks me up. I saw this on TikTok the other day. It just blew my mind and it made me so mad. Because mind you, I make planners. Like I make tools for people to live their life, right? Planner season is January. And I was like, man, y'all got me. So society, new planners in January, right? People start buying them in December. When does winter end? Long about February.
Mm-hmm.
As a human being, how do you feel post-holidays up until February? There's not much sun. Everything's still dead. Do you feel like going to the gym 5 days a week? Do you feel like starting new growth? Do you feel like doing new life? We should be mapping our life around the seasons, because I promise you, I have seasonal affective disorder. I dip every winter. I have to boost my vitamin D every single solitary year and sit under my sunlight. Been that way since I was 16 years old. Probably because I had kids and it jacked up my hormones. I don't know. But every year I am in a season. I'm in a season of hibernation and reflection until just after February, and little buds start popping out of trees.
Look,
You should buy planters in February. You should start your new life in March, not January. Don't want to hear nothing about New Year's resolutions. That don't work. How many people fail at New Year's resolutions?
It's funny you said that, because you can look at my Facebook, and it was last week that I got back in the gym. Like you said, I went dormant.
Yeah,
I
but
went
we're
dormant.
supposed to.
I did.
All of nature does.
What you're saying is so true, and it's year after year. You can go back in my Facebook. Like, now I'm on it. Like, I've been getting up. I've been disciplined. Like you said, I'm waking up. The buds popping out. The energy's there. Like,
yep. When we have sunlight, we'll be super active and busy. And then along about November hits, and we start to get.
Yeah, I told him the other day, I said, I got to get rid of this winter booty. I said,
I just moved in where there's stairs. I should have a really great butt within just a couple months. I've lost a lot of weight. You look at when you lose a little weight, but I'm like, I will be perky again soon. Pretty soon.
I said, I can wear this booty in the wintertime, but in the summertime, it got to go. Look, it's got to go. So I can attest. Yes, you are correct.
Most people can if they'll just stop and think about it. But see, that's another period of conditioning that's based on marketing. So I'm over it.
And that's the reason why we got to have these type of conversations. It's the reason why we have to be able to be transparent with each other and sit down and talk, about life, and be able to just be honest about it without any shame. Because the shame and the blame is what gives the devil the power.
Absolutely.
And that's the energy. Because we can grow roses, or we could grow weeds. I was telling the lady the other day, I said, my vision for Bougiewild is, I look at our mind as gardens, right? And I tell this story all the time. I said, if somebody gave you 100 acres of land for free, but the land had bags of trash, abandoned cars, mangy dogs, and the grass had been cut in 50 years, they said, would you take it? They said, yeah, absolutely. I do. They said, we'll clear it up. I said, okay, let's talk about clearing up the land. Yeah. And so I didn't break it down, and I tell them the mangy dogs is fear, the bags of trash is the past, the abandoned houses is insecurity, the abandoned cars is doubt. And so I'm like, we don't even realize we got this land. So let's clear the land off, and now let's plant what we want to plant. Let's go roses. Let's build up some houses. Let's do all of this stuff. And so I was talking to a lady the other day, because that's how I look at my mind now. I look at my mind as I got this 100 acres, right? And so I got the garden up here. I got tulips. I got daisies or whatever. And I was telling this lady, I said, I would love to create an environment where we meet up, and like you take daisies from your garden and I take tulips from my garden, and somebody bring roses, and let's exchange buds, and you take it
in community. And that's exactly how we're meant to live. That's a whole other thing I talk about a lot. Now think about this. 2 points. You'd have me here all night long. 2 things. I get so tickled every time I hear a marriage conference when they talk about women should be more reserved with conversations they have. And I just laugh all the way. I'm like, listen to me. Do you have any idea what kind of conversations were happening when women were going to the well together, when they were washing their laundry in the creek? The way we knew as women how to handle our men when they were all out of sorts or any kind of thing, ailments, all kinds of stuff, was when everybody was out washing their laundry or doing whatever work they were doing communally. That's when information got passed. Women are the information gatherers and sharers. We teach the younger, and so on and so forth. Also in community, especially when we were tribal, everybody didn't till, everybody didn't sew, everybody didn't hunt, everybody didn't tan hides, everybody didn't do every one thing. My biggest grievance with society today, and the reason I was glad to hear you say you delegate, is we are told we have to do everything. Post-industrial revolution, that's the lie that we were told. That is never, ever, ever, ever before in society been the way things were done. Somebody was good at ironwork. Somebody was good at shoeing horses.
Yep.
Somebody was good at tanning leather. Somebody was good at sewing clothes. Somebody was good at baking. You went to whoever was good at what they did, and you bartered or you paid or you whatever, but no one person did it all. You were dependent on and lived within community. And that was our best life. That was when we were the most information was passed, the most education was passed. We are losing so incredibly much generational knowledge because there is strife amongst generations now. Elders think the younger ones are just, they don't have any work ethic and they don't know anything. And the younger ones think that the elders are just out of touch and they don't have anything to offer because they can't program their own TV remotes. And both are a lie. Elders, you need them kids to come program your TV remotes because I'm 44 and I ain't fooling with it. I want my kids to come. I don't change the clock in my car. Every time my son gets in the car, he changes it. It'll be out of time for like 2 or 3 days. I have other more important things to do with my time than sit and jack with the clock on my phone, on my car. But the elders know how to live and survive. And our young people don't know how. And COVID was an excellent example of it. An excellent example of people not being able to drive through or not being able to do things and going, oh my gosh, there's not enough TV dinners or there's not enough whatever. I don't know how to do. And I remember laughing. So I have a little corgi that is my emotional support animal. He has been everywhere. He's been to the Alamo. He has floated the Riverwalk all through San Antonio. He goes everywhere with me. Travels. My husband and I have a pull behind camper. He's gone everywhere. And when COVID happened, I remember my husband saying, well, if it gets real bad, we'll just eat the dog. I said, we'll eat you before we eat the dog. But the funny thing was, I grew up hunting and fishing and all of that. And it made me stop and think, even just at 44. And I grew up with my grandparents a lot of times. At 44, my husband was in the military. He could shoot and hit whatever he needed to. I could clean and cook a deer or a squirrel or a rabbit or whatever was out there if things really got bad and need be. I don't know how many 20-year-olds that aren't just avid hunters that we lived in the city. I was laughing because I'm like, I'm probably the only one in a 6-block area that knows how to do that. And it was funny, but at the same time, it wasn't. It kind of concerned me about upcoming generations, just the lack of survival skills that they have. And when you can't cook, and you're eating out every meal, you're not stewarding your money well. So if you can't cook and you can't afford to go to a restaurant and have a better quality meal prepared and you're just eating fast food all the time, not only are you not stewarding your money, but what are you doing to your body? Like that causes cancer at an early age. It's a lot. Like there's a lot of actually really important stuff that's not being addressed and even talked about because it's, it goes against everything that's marketed. It goes against all manner of commercial greed and consumerism and all stuff. But it concerns me. It concerns me for our upcoming generations, for sure.
Yep, it does. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Actually, in Little Rock next month on the 25th.
Well, you should find me.
I am. I will. I am coming to do a pop-up shop and I'll be a speaker there. They're doing an expo. So I will find you and
I will make time for you.
Keep in touch, Melissa, because it's nothing like having someone that you can talk to of like mind.
Yes, it's important.
And when we are speaking of like mind, we can be that change. Like you said, I relate to the force. I relate to the force that you're dealing with. I relate to it. I mean, that's the reason why Transparent Table Talk exists.
And a lot of people can't. They don't get it. A lot of people just don't get it and they can't.
Right.
Yeah, I'll make time for you.
We were not taught to be in tune with the spirit.
No, and that's a shame because it is not an easy life and it is not a smooth life. But man, is it a satisfying life. It is such a satisfying life. And I don't know how to explain it to people to get them turned on to it. Because it looks hard from the outside. It looks like a lot of adversity and a lot of challenge, and it is. But there is something about it that is the most beautiful, peace-giving, joy-filled satisfaction that's not like like you said, I've done all the world things. There's nothing out there that fixes your appetite quite like living this life. And yeah, it seems bold, and yeah, it seems weird, and it seems, far-fetched and whatever. But I've tried everything else, and this is what hits. This is what works.
And what I've learned, Melissa, on this journey with allowing this force, because it's a force,
Yeah,
is becoming like water. Water
I'm
can
with you.
mold to anything. And that's where I am. Like, I love to go sit in front of the ocean because it is the strongest element on earth, and it can come wipe us out right now.
Just
Yet
true.
it's the humblest. And then water takes shape and form. It's a book I'll send you called The Game Called Life and How to Play It. And they talk about the resistance. That resistance is torture. So, like you were saying, you experienced this resistance that you were fighting against this spirit that clearly had you walking on this path, and you were resisting it. That's the torture you were experiencing.
Yeah.
You know. And so, what I've learned on this journey, because it is something that changed my life. Like I said, I quit my job. I stepped out on faith. I'm living on faith. My sister called and asked me if I was dying. That's how much I've changed.
That's called sitting all the way on that.
Yeah,
That's
she
trusting
said, "Are
all the
you
way on
dying?"
that.
I said, "What?" She said, "You've really changed. Like, are you dying because you're living your best life and you just changed?" And I was,
Why does that have to happen when you're dying?
and it took me a long time to respond to her. And I said, I died to the human flesh.
Yeah.
I've died already. What you see here is the spirit man. Because I realized I can't take any of this materialistic stuff with me.
And so
I
it means
realized that I live on through my experiences. I'm on a journey.
you live on through the legacy that you create while you're paving this path and you're making this difference. That's how you live forever. It's that legacy that you build. It's that work that you do.
Yes. And that is where I am. I am no longer afraid to live in fear, doubt, and insecurity. I'm creating. We are creators. And when you realize who you are and what your purpose is, you go out and you live it, and you live it without any fear, doubt, and insecurity.
Yeah.
And you create the life you want, because like I tell people, I'm creating a legacy to live on. Just like Jesus, he lived on. I'm living on. I may
And
be
asked
absent
us
from
to
this
do
body,
the
but my
same.
energy will live forever.
Yeah. He asked us to do the same. Like he asked us to live that life that he lived. But if you do it, then people think you've lost your mind.
Right.
You should have a come together cruise every year, every couple years, and just say, hey, everybody that's been on the show, let's go do a quick cruise somewhere. And then you could have all those brains at one or two tables and just kicking it with each other.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the ideas that would come out of that? That would be.
And I'm a cruiser. I love that. Look,
me too.
I am a I love to cruise. I am a cruiser. I'm telling you. I think I went on 5 last year. I'm a cruiser.
You got me beat by far, but I would love to go on another one.
Yes, I'm a cruiser. So definitely I'm gonna stay in touch with you, because I do love surrounding myself with like-minded people. I literally, when I died to the flesh, I stopped dealing with the old version of me, the friends, the family. Like, I create the life. I'm a creator. And so
when you naturally go through a pruning, and it's really hard, I think that's another thing that stops a lot of people, is as you start to evolve like that, people will fall away. And I've been through 2 really massive prunings since January of 2020. And I'm not going for a minute say that they don't hurt. It sucks. You figure out who people really are and who's really with you and that kind of thing. But the ones that stay, boy, those are good and those are nice to have. But the thing is, we need community. We need people that can speak life into us. If you go through a pruning season, you got to hold 2 folks around and they're not on the same level as you. I've been praying for 2 or 3 weeks now. I need a mentor that is head and shoulders above me. Like, I'm leading a bunch of folks. I need someone pouring back into me in a way that I can't pour into myself. I can glean a lot on my own, but when I'm having a struggle season or I've got something going on, like I'm doing a fast right now that's not recommended. I need someone speaking into that has been there before,
Mhm.
that can tell me what's going on in the season and how to continue to overcome that, and to encourage me and understand that there's going to be certain days along that period they're going to be tough, and can speak into that. We definitely, because we tend to be the outliers. Those of us that think the way that you and I do and others do tend to be the outliers. And so I'm glad that you're doing this and you're willing to keep in touch, because we really do need to develop a pod of people that we can just message and be like, well, today was a crap day, and be like, or this is the new ingenious idea I have, and bounce it off of somebody and get that positive feedback, instead of somebody going, are you sure you want to do that? Well, yeah, I'm sure I want to do it.
Open-minded. Wayne Dyer said to be open-minded and attached to nothing. Right. And that's where I am. Like you said, don't speak fear, doubt, and insecurity in me. Listen to me. Encourage me, because the Bible said we can do all things.
Right. And I need someone speaking that to me all the time. I'm good to tell it to other people, but I don't have a lot of people that when I am dipping and I'm having a rough day, that will say, remember what this says. Now say this back to me. I want to hear you say it out loud. That will just come along. We need people to come alongside us and put us on our feet and walk with us a little bit until we're stable and secure again.
Yes, I agree. Well, I'll inbox you my phone number.
This was fun.
And we can keep in touch.
I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much for being a guest on Transparent Table Talk. Anytime. We are changing the world, and I look forward to meeting you. I'll look you up. I'm gonna send you my phone number, and so that we can meet when I come to Little Rock.
Absolutely. I will make time for that.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. I'm free to be me, it's what you see in my energy. I'm real with myself, I don't conform, 'cause